folks, so welcome back to another video. We're in the MK8 R and we're back down at MRC Tuning in Banbury. It's a big day today because we're finally putting an exhaust on it and getting rid of those stock exhaust tips in the process of doing so. So yeah, it's going to be good. We'll get a bunch of before and after shots. It already has got a downpipe on there and a stage 2 map, and then hopefully towards the end of the day we'll get it redyno'd because we also have got the intake on there now, so it'll be basically full bolt on stage 2. But yeah, let's get cracking, head inside and I'll show you the new system. First things first, it is a COBRA Sport exhaust system. It is resonating and also valved. You will recall that we fitted one of their systems to the Mark 7 GTI. It did sound great, and we did end up adding a larger resonator because the unfortunate thing with the GTI is it didn't have valves, but thankfully we are going to be retaining that today. Now moving over to here, we've got the resonator. There is a few different options you can go for. You can get a non-res, non-valved system, which is probably going to be way too loud for my needs, but hopefully this should do the job and tone the car down a bit. Now over here we've got the downpipe. I'm going to be changing this out as well, even though we have got one on there currently. This eliminates any compatibility issues. The length of this does look a bit longer from what I can recall as well. It has got the OPF Delete and the decat. Then we've got another link pipe here, and then onto the best bit. Pretty sure out of all the mods we've done so far to this car, this one is the one that's been mentioned the most. All right, so MK8's on the ramp. Still got this bonnet strut doing its job. Intake still fitted. We're already going to remove the engine cover. Backing it with Dean as well. Hello. So we're doing pretty much the same thing we did in the last video, but we're adding an extra bit onto the back. That was a lot less stressful than the removal process of the other system.
Yeah, basically buy a Golf that's already decatted,
yeah,
and then
fit another decat.
Fit another one. It's much easier.
Yeah, props still in place. So I've got the COBRA downpipe straight onto the turbo, and that's where it hooks on back down again. The only thing I found with putting a downpipe on the stock exhaust, there being no resonator, is that it's so loud you can't even hear the intake. And normally you can hear these even through quite a bit through the cabin, but there was just drone and all sorts. So V-band going on. Okay then, so subframe's all back on, so we're going to get the link pipe on.
So downpipe's all done, link pipe on, EGTs to go in. So we're blanking the pressure sensors off because we're not using those. The
best bit, a resonator. Here's it side by side with the stock exhaust, pretty much just straight all the way back to the back box. That's why it was so loud. Of course that's not a huge resonator, but I'm sure it'll make a bit of a difference. But then the back box is smaller, so we'll see anyway. Look at that professional tool. You know what I'm thinking, Dean, yeah? Well, you look like you're struggling there.
Struggling with these clamps. There's usually a spring in between the valve and the motor, so we'll show you the adapters we've got. Yeah, same design as the older ones, so should be straightforward to swap them over. So you've got a pin in there that goes into there, and then that side has been machined out for the spring to fit in there as well.
Cool.
You just got to line these up. So
yeah,
sit in there.
Back box is all assembled. Next steps, get it on the car.
There we go.
Right, so the rest of the exhaust is all pretty much where we want it to be. Now's the best part. We're going to test fit some of the tips. Tricky bit with there being 4, of course, is getting them all as good as we can. Quite like the size of them. They're not overkill.
Yeah, they look better.
It's all just blended in on the camera. It just looks like one massive diffuser.
A lot less need for speed, aren't they?
Yeah. No longer part of that crew there. The COBRA logo stamped on the back box there. Pretty cool.
You feel they look alright from here?
I wanted these on the Mark 7, but they never had them at the time. So I ended up going for those carbon style ones. Right, okay, so here we go. Exhaust tips all on as we want them. Of course we can always adjust them later on depending on how it looks once the car's on the ground. We're going to lower it down now, get a first start up and see if it is any quieter than before. Well, that's pretty ironic because normally people want the exhaust to be louder, but I'm aiming for more of a quality tone compared to the original exhaust with a decap. My predictions, I think it's going to be slightly quieter, but not by much, and the tone will be quite different. It's still quite loud, even with a resonator. You know what, it's actually, once the cold starts died down, it's not too bad. It's a bit more refined. Does look good. Still gotta adjust a few of them, but we'll get some sound clips. Right, so it's the next day. We're going to get the car in the dyno and get some flybys in the daylight. It's a bit more easier to film. But before we do that, let's get some revving clips of Comfort and Race out here in the open without all the echo from inside. Yeah, I'm definitely chuffed with the way that sounds. It's a lot more reasonable, let's say. Of course, in Race we have got the overrun, but believe it or not, that is actually the stock one. It's just amplified by the exhaust situation. Change it to the central tack. It's crazy how the stock car has overrun there. Yeah, I'd say visually now this car is pretty much where I wanted it to be. The wheels are done. We're going to leave that side skirt on there because it sort of matches up with the spoiler now. I am going to be leaving it black. A few of you were saying to wrap this section here. I may do so because obviously this whole front panel here is in black because of the roof. Pretty much all we're going to do from here is get on the dyno next. There we go. Right, so whilst this is an exhaust video, of course we did fit an intake in the last video, the Venturi, and we didn't get to dyno in that one because I was trying to sync up days to bring the car down, etc. Main thing is we're getting it all done today, along with the exhaust, of course. Now, so far on video, the best that this thing has done is around the 435 PS mark, and then we ended up on 433 after those runs that we did. It was a stage 2 video, you can go and check that out. Now, before we even get started with the runs, I have got some new data to share with you folks in terms of a comparison for this thing and where we should really be. Now, yesterday an S38Y came in. I believe it's actually a view of the channel. He had an Venturi intake, a DO88 intercooler and a downpipe on the stock exhaust. And I'm pretty sure Doug was telling me it made around 452 PS. So it goes to show the 450 mark is definitely doable, especially once the Venturi's on there. Not to mention we have got the exhaust, of course. So maybe we can get a high 450 mark. I feel like once the turbo's on there, that's where we're going to see some really big gains on this exhaust system, because that's where you find a lot of the restriction. But this is kind of at a hybrid turbo Mark 7 level, so who knows, it's all guesswork at the minute. Can you imagine if we got to 460 PS with those two things on there? You never know. Right, okay, so we did a few runs there, backing in with Doug. So we've got some new findings then here.
So we're up to 458 PS, 599.6, 600 newton meters. With the catback on now, the turbo shaft speed's a bit less, and it makes more power itself. So the stock catback is restrictive on these at this power level.
Right, okay, and then also because the intake as well being on there. This is kind of where we wanted to be initially, wasn't it?
I think that's what we were sort of expecting after doing stage 1, yeah.
Yeah, especially with the jump it made with just the intercooler, so yeah, well chuffed with that. And also the turbos, we're saying, is working less hard as well at the same time.
Shaft speed's 175k, which is really nice. Whereas before with the stock catback, we were getting up to 190, 195. Or 200 if you revved it higher.
So yeah, there we have it folks, 458 PS. Now the car, even though this video is probably all looks like it's been filmed in one day, I did leave it here for about 3 or 4 days for them to tweak it. That's why the overrun has changed now as well. And on some runs it actually made 462 PS. So it's been heat soaked a bit. I did take it a test drive, etc. But yeah, a comfortable 450 bhp car in any regard. Maybe we can start chasing after the 480 mark, maybe with some octane booster, just to see what the standard turbo can do. And then we'll move on to the next stage. Right, so as per usual with any exhaust video, we're going to get some flybys now. Right, so flyby's done. I'm definitely quite pleased with the volume levels now. Not only the exhaust being slightly toned down, it's not quiet for example, but it's just enough, and the tone is quite nice. And that combined with the fact that we have toned the overrun down as well. So it's basically the factory overrun. So whatever bangs you're hearing is basically what a Golf R sounds like from the factory without the restriction. But yeah, I'll stop talking now. We'll end the video here. It is getting dark as well, even though it's basically only 4 PM UK winter time. What can you do? Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Follow my Instagram, trhamza_. And yeah, big shout out to COBRA Sport and MRC Tuning as always. And I'll see you in a few days time for the next video.